Coming up, who's this? What's happening here? And where's that? All these questions answered and more on this week's Race Room. And we start with the news, and big news in Formula One. Antonio Felix da Costa was expected to replace Daniel Ricciardo at Toro Rosso for 2014, but instead Red Bull's Russian has got the seat, and his name is...
Daniil Kvyat?
No.
Daniil Kvyat.
Daniil Kvyat.
Daniil Kvyat. Now, he's not particularly unknown to us. He's raced in Formula 3, he's raced in GP3, but in fact, he's only taken his first win of this year, just 8 weeks ago in GP3 at the Spa Grand Prix support race. Now, he's just 19 years old, he's only done 22 laps in a Formula 1 car, so what could be the motives for Toro Rosso for putting a Russian into the car for 2014? What do you think? Comment below. MotoGP got a bit F1 on us over the weekend. They were racing at the Phillip Island circuit in Australia, which had been recently resurfaced, and Bridgestone hadn't been able to test their tyres at the circuit. It turned out that even the hardest compound tyres they brought wouldn't last the full 26-lap race. Now, it got even weirder in qualifying when Jorge Lorenzo struck a Seagull. It got lodged in the fairing, but he was able to go faster than his previous lap time, even with Seagull aboard. Can you remember any other bird strikes in motorsport? Comment below and tell us what you think. When it came to the race then, we had to have a pit stop. Lap 9 or lap 10 was mandated by MotoGP, but Marc Marquez made his pit stop on lap 11, meaning he was instantly disqualified. His teammate Pedrosa sped through the pit lane, and therefore it allowed Lorenzo to cruise to victory and to close up that championship gap to just 18 points with 2 races remaining. The weekend didn't get any less weird for the World Endurance Championship. On day 1, they turned up to the circuit and it was nice and warm. Day 2, the beautiful Mount Fuji was capped by snow, and then on race day, it absolutely hosed it down. Initially, the race started under safety car, but was halted after just 8 laps, and Anthony Davidson's Toyota had already dropped a lap, having not been able to take his number 2 grid spot. After a couple of hours working out if it was going to rain a bit more, they did another 8 laps behind the Audi safety car, and the number 1 machine of Andre Lotterer picked up a fuel pickup problem, meant he made 3 extra stops and dropped to the back of the train. Then they red flagged it for good after 6 hours of deliberation, and it meant that local man Kazuki Nakajima took half points, not full points, but did take the victory with his teammates Lapierre and Wirtz. The IndyCar season finished up at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, not Florida. Got that wrong last week. But it was just as mental as MotoGP and WEC. We had Helio Castroneves, long-time leader of the championship, under pressure from Scott Dixon, who had just grabbed the lead just a couple of weeks back in Houston. Castroneves damaged his front wing early on in the race and went a lap down, but Scott Dixon also had his fair share of drama, overheating problems after he drove through debris from a 6-car accident that was instigated by Justin Wilson. Now, Justin was T-boned by Tristan Vautier there and was put into hospital and damaged himself, so wish him a speedy recovery. Just 5 cars ended up on the lead lap come the end of the race. Scott Dixon was the last of the 5, and 1 place behind him, 1 lap down, was Helio Castroneves. That meant Scott Dixon took the championship for his first time, the New Zealander finishing 5th. Will Power was your victor. And finally, the DTM was a sodden Hockenheim. And the man in last position to start the race was Roberto Merri. He had a wicked run through the field and managed to get up to 2nd to challenge Timo Glock for victory. But the BMW driver held on to take his first win in DTM. His first win for some 5 or 6 years. I think the last time he won, it was in GP2 in 2007. So clearly, Tim O'Glock, as he was known in Jordan, was absolutely elated. And that is your news. This week's Fast Fact takes inspiration from the WEC race in Fuji. And of course, as you've heard earlier, there was only 16 laps in that race, rained off a full 6 hours and only 16 laps. Let's have a look at a Formula 1 tyre to explain a little bit about why the tyre just could not take the amount of water that was on that Fuji race circuit. So we have a Pirelli here, Formula 1 tyre, and you can see there are grooves. Now, the grooves that are going across the tyre like this, they are there to pick up the water. So the water gets trapped effectively inside these grooves and then gets picked up and thrown out of the car. as there is too much water getting stuck in the horizontal grooves, the vertical grooves then become channels. So the water then comes through these and allows the water again to disperse and go away. If there is too much water, effectively if there's water that sits over the brow of this block, so if it's higher than this block, then the wheel doesn't actually work and it lifts off the ground and effectively it aquaplanes. And that is what aquaplaning is. Once it does that, then the car and its floor sits on the water, not the tyre, and therefore you have absolutely no control. And that was what the problem was in the WEC Fuji race. Those big Le Mans prototype cars with their massive floors literally acted like speedboats, had no control, and therefore they couldn't race. Let's get stuck into tweets of the week. First tweet.
At Steph Saraza. At Toyota Hybrid team is ready, but at Anthony Davidson turned up in the wrong team gear.
I love this tweet. It was taken quite early on in the weekend when Toyota had to do a lot of press around their race event at the Fuji Speedway, which of course they own. And I think Anthony Davidson probably was still at the Japanese Grand Prix, so he wasn't able to make it. So they found a bear to replace him. Much taller, by the way, than Anthony Davidson is. But a great tweet from Stefan Sarazan. And Alex Wirtz is also a master of Twitter, so make sure you follow him. Next one.
And Reading Power. Can't believe my ex at Penny May was or is dating other riders from BSB. What a joke, how people change. At Miss Penny May. At Reading Power, you are wrong. You know, you have many girls in home before I even moved out. You only need to look on your Twitter to see. At Alwolf9. At Reading Power, at Miss Penny May, you two have never heard of texting. It's amazing nobody else can see it.
Other than the voiceover, this is something I absolutely adore. You do see quite a lot of this from sort of friends, and I think I've been guilty of it in the past as well, but an argument on Twitter between Grid Girl and racing rider. Poor Scott Redding, obviously in hospital after a big crash in Moto 2, and been vividly watching his tweets and watching the British Superbikes, and found out his ex-girlfriend is dating some other riders. We've all been there, Scott. Get well soon. See you later. Next tweet.
At Lewis Hamilton. At my parents' place with my best buddies. Family at peace. Truly blessed.
Talking of love, or lack of love, here's Lewis Hamilton. Not with Nicole Scherzinger, but with two dogs. These are Roscoe, and I think Coco is the new one. I think it's Coco. It's not Coco, is it? It's Coco, good. And Lewis at home with the parents, having a weekend off. Lovely to see a Formula One driver properly downtime. And for you girls, lovely to see Lewis Hamilton with his tats out.
At Grand Prix Diary. You might spot Peter Sauber trying to get in on the action here.
Grand Prix Diary having a little rant about the age of Daniil Kvyat, but he's 19 years old. He is not a baby like this Russian photo. And in fact, he's done 4 seasons in lower formula. If you look at the champions, by the way, just getting serious here, Kimi, Jensen and Fernando only did 2 years in lower formula before they went into Formula One. Danny's done 4, like Seb. I think Lewis did 5. But anyway, he's not a baby, and I'm not sure he ever met Vladimir Putin in a yellow wrap. And that is your tweets of the week. It might be nearing the end of October. There's still plenty of motorsport action for you coming up this weekend. And we're going to kick off with MotoGP, which has its championships still alive with 2 rounds remaining. And they're racing in Motegi in Japan, which is just north of Tokyo. So a spot's going to go there. There's also the next round of the WRC Championship. Obviously, Ogier has wrapped that one up nicely. They're racing in Tarragona, which is between Valencia and Barcelona in Spain. WRC Spain, I think. There's only 2 rounds to go in that as well. MotoGP, just WRC GB to finish the year with. And then we also have something else which I've completely forgotten about, which is happening over here in Australia with the V8 supercars. V8s, mate, in Brizzy, or near Brizzy, Gold Coast. Hopefully it's going to happen, because obviously massive bushfires, very concerning along the whole of that coast there. So hopefully the V8s will be able to get from the Blue Mountains over to the Gold Coast. Massive event there. And then finally, we should not forget the Formula One Grand Prix of India, which is in Mumbai there. And that is what's happening around the world. On the channel, though, we will be holding our very own Force India weekend. We've got a factory tour on Saturday, and then you can watch a comments below from the actual factory on the Sunday on this channel. We'll have a bit of a wrap up as well. And we're playing on this Spot the Error. So spot the error, what have I done wrong? And comment below because I'm a bit stupid sometimes. Otherwise, see you next week.
And I think you have to blip it. Give it a little blip on the accelerator.
You sure?
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna go anywhere. Woo! Come over here to the other side. Check it out. Look what is missing.